Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It is in the description below, your purchase and pricing email question line. For buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform, please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Today, we're discussing the Audemars PIguet Royal Oak chronograph in its earliest form, reference 25860ST. This is part of a model line that launched in 1997 and became a bestseller for Audemars PIguet. So in stainless steel, this is a 39mm diameter case that is 11.2 millimeters thick. From lug to lug, the bare case, just the case, measures 49.3 millimeters across the wrist, but if we include these little intermediate links, the plots, the total rigid distance across the wrist is 52.4 millimeters. That's why I want you to think of this as more of a 41 millimeter round watch in terms of how it wears. And you can see on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, it wears well. This is a timepiece, as with all Royal Oaks and offshores on bracelets, that wears larger than its stated size. That said, it is quite thin and it will slide easily underneath a dress cuff. I would recommend it for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference. Taking a quick look at the bracelet, it's beautifully preserved. A lot of these older Royal Oaks, and by older I mean 20 years old or more, have been refinished several times. They lose a lot of their original definition, the tightness of the tolerances between parts, and the crispness of the break between the polish and the satin of the metal. There's no diminution here. Everything looks as good as the day it left Les Brassus. And you can see that starts with the lug bevels, which are sharply creased, expanding over the lug hoods, continuing perfectly aligned down the shoulders of the links. You can see that the flanks are vertically satinated. The tops are longitudinally satinated. We have little polished ends to the intermediate links. And it took 9 to 11 hours to finish one of these bracelets at Audemars PIguet. The bracelet is a long-standing feature of the Royal Oak, dating back to the original in 1972. Integration of case, lugs, and bracelet per designer Gerald Genta, designed to create the impression of jewelry that just happens to have a timepiece attached. You can see how early this example is, particularly in the architecture of the clasp. We have a single pullback trigger that releases the assembly. Internally, we have satin and polish, but it's a simple swing arm design. This was before we had any of the AP logo style deployant clasps. This watch has an E49000 serial number, which marks it as a product of the late 1990s. So one of the truly early examples of the Royal Oak chronograph. Remember, 97 was year one for the entire model line. So let's take a look at the dial. If you look and you watch and you wait, what you'll find is that the dial actually fades out quite quickly, which, along with a light patina evident in the coloration of the lume, leads me to believe that this is a fast-fading original factory tritium dial. And you can see just how quickly it begins to ebb, and there's quite a bit of light magnification inherent in this camera, which is causing it to appear even brighter than it appears here with me in the light box. So that's something to keep in mind with this watch. Taking a quick look at the bezel, you can see it's an outstanding shape. Now at Audemars PIguet, the threshold for replacement, where they'll actually offer you a replacement bezel, is when these little white gold bolts protrude above the bezel. Here you can see they're not even flush, they're still sunken within the bezel, and that's exactly what you want to see. Character lines of the case beautifully preserved, the rounded octagonal form of the bezel as well as the case back, inspired by a vintage diving helmet. And you can see that there are several different layers to the bezel. There's a satinated outer face, there's a polished slope, and then there's a vertically satinated curtain profile on the top. You have those hexagonal white gold bolts, and you can see they are bolts because they're aligned all the way around. And then they're white gold because they're a much warmer tone than the silver or the steel. The same hexagonal form is used for the screw-down shoulders of the chronograph pushers, as well as the screw-down crown. The watch is 50 meters water resistant. If you want to use the chronograph, you screw out the shoulder, and now you can operate the mechanism. The timepiece includes a Grande Tapisserie. It is the large hobnail dial. The Petite Tapisserie is what you find on a jumbo, and the Mega is what you find on an offshore. Critically, the Grand and the Petite are all cut on pantographs, and back when this watch was made, the dial would have been cut on a pantograph lathe at Sternfrère. Taking a look at the dial, you can see we have baton-style hands and indices to match, with the exception of the triangular index at 12, and then the circular indices at 3, 6, and 9. We have sunken sub-registers, chronograph hours and minutes with constant seconds, a faceted aperture showing you the date disc, and then we have inside the case, let's take a quick look at the reverse side, but inside the case, take note, right here. The character line continues perfectly through bezel, mid-case, and case back. But under that case back, we have a Frederic Piguet 1185 doing business as Audemars Piguet 2385. And the timepiece is powered by an automatic winding integrated chronograph caliber that is ultra thin, winds unidirectionally with a 40-hour power reserve, has a column wheel function selector for crisp actuation, and a vertical clutch for smooth engagement and operation without wear and tear. There is a quick set system for the date, though there is not hacking seconds. We have a 40-hour power reserve that beats away at 3 Hz or 6 beats per second. It is adjusted in 5 positions and pivots on 37 joules. And again, it is vertical clutch, column wheel, and because it is a Frederic Piguet, it is a very beautifully finished movement. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing details.